The other children who live with unstable parents and whose parents believe in this, although there are 60 years of conclusive scientific evidence that says this is harmful in every way when used on a developing human being. So he's leaving those kids at the whim of a parent who doesn't get that, or who is hateful or unstable, or just thinks that this is what you're supposed to get when you don't listen.
My name is Chris. I'm from the state of New Jersey, and in New Jersey, which they abolished corporal punishment back in the 1800s. And so I knew nothing of it, and until when I did find out that they do it in other states, it was quite shocking. And New Jersey doesn't do it, and they do fine without it. So I don't see any reason why it should be done in any other states. And there's no reason for schools to ever do it. And you know, children and teenagers, they're human beings. They've got a right to their bodies. And the buttocks, which it's a private part, along with the genitals. There's no reason to strike for a school teacher to strike a child on the rear end. After all, New Jersey doesn't do it, and New Jersey hasn't been doing it for over 100 years. It was actually a paddle was used for abusing slaves. That's what the original purpose of it was. And as I found out, the reason after the Civil War, when slavery was banned, that's when New Jersey banned the paddle, because it was an instrument of abuse for slaves. And so there's no reason to use it on children in school, and teenagers especially, with their hormones running wild, going through that sexuality coming into full swing. It's disgusting. It's vile. It's the kind of thing you'd see in pornography. That's what they use in porn videos. They use paddles and whips and all sorts of things, and guys watch these stuff and they get aroused by it. And it doesn't matter if you're not doing it for sexual reasons. It's the act itself, just like with rape. That rape is often not used for sexual gratification. It's used as a form of punishment. But that doesn't matter. It shouldn't be done.
That if they're coming from a dysfunctional home and they go to school and the teacher is beating on them, is that helping that person to become a better person?
Not at all.
Huh?
Not at all.
Not at all. What would you say are probably things that need to happen that are more effective than beating a child whose mom might be alcoholic, beating the crap out of him at home?
Mentor. They need someone to look up to.
Yes, they need someone to look up to, someone to talk to.
I think the reason they show out in class and stuff and at school is because they don't get attention at home, the attention they want from home. So they usually act out in a way to get attention in any kind of way when they're at school, even if it's negative.
Right.
That's what they don't have, and that's what they never had, so they feel the need to just follow somebody since they have no positive footsteps to follow into. So.
Exactly. And let me ask you that. The primary targets are Black American males, which both of you are. How does that make you feel knowing that your peers are the primary targets of this abuse?
Sad. Sad.
How's that make you feel knowing your little 5-year-old, 7-year-old, 11-year-old peers are having this kind of treatment?
To be honest, I really never thought of it, but now that I do think of it, it's like a sad case.
It's a sad case?
It's a sad case.
Yes. What would you say about that?
I see the things that they see on TV are most affecting them.
Like what?
I have a nephew that's like that age, 11 years old, and I see that the things that they're like, the things that they're watching on TV are, you know, the music videos and everything like that. They're starting to be like that. They want to be like that person.
So that's kind of adding to it. They're getting beaten at school, their parents might be beating them at home, and then they turn on TV for entertainment, and what's there for them?
Negative. It's all negative. They think it's positive because they see a grown-up doing it, but you're not a grown-up yet.
Right. So, very good point. Very good point. What would you say to President Obama right now about this, if he walked through here right now? What would you like to say to him regarding this issue? What would you say to him?
If he was to walk in here right now, I would say pay more attention to it because that is our future generation. So
right on.
You should take that serious because it's not about the now, it's about the future.
Yes, it is our future.
I say look into that more when you get extra time, because he do have a lot on his plate. You can't just expect
Yeah, but our children, I mean, if you're too busy for children, what do you think about that?
You can never be too busy for children.
All right, right on. Yeah, grab a card, grab an invitation. All right, thank you both. You are totally against teachers, principals, school bus drivers beating school children?
Yes, ma'am, firmly.
Okay, and what kind of work do you do?
I'm an LPN. I work for a kidney doctor.
Oh, so you're a nurse, basically.
Yes, ma'am.
Have you ever seen any kids who were beaten by their school teachers come to your hospital?
Yes, ma'am.
You have?
I have.
Have you seen bruises, bad bruises?
I have. Actually, I worked in a hospital for 10 years before I started working at a doctor's office. And I've seen them as young as maybe in the months old. I can't remember exactly. All the way up to teenagers. I've seen physical abuse.
Some of them from home and some of them from school?
Yes, some are from home and some are from school.
When you saw children come in that were abused from school, what was your reaction? I know you probably didn't say anything, but what did you think of that a teacher did this bruise? What were you thinking?
The first thing I wanted to do was call the police.
Right.
That was my first instinct. And, you know, the doctors and everyone accessed it, and they did have a social worker to come in to investigate it.
Okay, so the bruises were notable? I mean,
yes,
you could really...
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so, to these parents in this community who believe in school beatings, if you had a forum and you were able to talk to these parents about the fact that they allow these teachers to beat their children, what would you say to them?
I would challenge the people in this community to investigate what is going on in your school system with the children, especially physical abuse. But there is verbal abuse also. And our children might not have much high self-esteem, and we need to build that in them. It first starts at home, and then we take it to the church, and then we take it to the school. And we need to work together as a community to stop this corporal punishment, because they think that our children are just animals, the way that they treat them and the way that they beat them and throw them in the jailhouse, and I'm really fed up with it. So I stand firmly in front of anyone and ask them to please stop corporal punishment, and ask the parents to stand behind me, and let's make a stand to get this to an end.
Here we are in Mississippi, and we're still using this. This is a slave relic, you know, and they're still using it in the classroom.
But I'm not an advocate of this corporal punishment.
Teachers and stuff don't want nobody whoop their kids with it, so why they whooping our kids?
That's right.
Okay.
Slavery
days are over. In school beating. Slavery days are over. In school beating. Slavery days are over. In school beating. Slavery days are over. In school beating.
Tonight I said we're developing a culture of do as I say, not what I do. And that's confusing. That lacks integrity, and it confuses a child's worldview. So children who are being affected by this are walking in constant mist, in constant confusion about their role modelling. Is hitting right? How can we tell our children that hitting's not okay when we're still hitting them?
And I think this corporal punishment, because I don't want my kids to be beaten anyway, I don't want other kids to be beaten for sure.
In Mississippi are among the last remaining schools that still use this ineffective, brutal practice. And I don't want to be, when I get out there next year to become a teacher, you better not put a paddle in my hand, because you are insulting me as a person.
The organization plans to make several stops in the metro area this weekend.
I'm going to speak right now just to the one issue about the racial disparity of corporal punishment in the schools, because this is something that simply cannot be denied. And first I want to explain how the Department of Education keeps these statistics, because it's critical to understand how it is that we arrived at these statistics. First of all, the Department of Education says that probably the statistics are underrepresentative of the number of beatings taking place in the schools. So you can bank on the fact that whatever we do have is, if anything, it underreports how many beatings are taking place. But this is the key to me. First, when a child is beaten in school, they are reported for that school year one time. They are not reported again, no matter how many times they are hit during that academic year. So if a particular child is hit one time or 100 times, it's reported as one incident with the Department of Education. Okay, now keep that in mind when we talk about who's getting hit in schools. Because there's been a lot of research on who are the kids, who's being hit. Well, the clearest indication is kids who are poor are getting hit. Kids in the poor rural school districts are the ones getting hit, not so much in the urban districts. But we know for a fact that black children are hit disproportionately. One study showed that black boys are 16 times more likely to be hit in schools than white girls.
I would like to stop hitting me.
Teaches children aggression, because a parent is hitting a child and the child learns, oh, my mother, my father hits me when they're mad at me, I'm going to hit other people. And there's many studies, dozens of studies that show children who are spanked more, swatted more, whooped more, hit other children more, and hit other adults. So that's a big problem.
Yes.
It also, another big problem is it doesn't contribute to positive parent-child interactions, communication.
Exactly.
Children don't like getting hit. No one likes getting hit. So they feel angry toward the person who hits them.
Right.
Or some kids feel sad and depressed. So it does not contribute to a positive parent-child relationship or positive parent-child communication.
Exactly.
So there, in turn, because the hitting is so upsetting to kids, it can cause depression in children, it can cause anxiety problems, it can cause kids to want to distance themselves from the parents. So
those are two big ones right there. I mean, we could stop there, and that's
okay.
plenty. That is plenty for a parent to want to avoid hitting their child.
Yeah,
or
just give me my third
Go
one would
right
be,
ahead.
if it was effective, you'd only need to hit once and you'd never hit again.
Exactly.
You'd never spank again. But parents spank many times.
Exactly.
And the problem is, the truth of the matter is that children do not have the brain power, abilities to control their behavior and to be adult-like, because they're kids. Their brains are not fully formed.
Right.
And nothing works. But spanking has these unintended negative consequences that come with it.
Exactly.
And so that's why so many of us advocate never spank your child.
Right.
It's not going to work. It's has these potentially harmful effects. And it's something that if you avoid it, try avoiding it for a few weeks. And I can't promise you, but I'm convinced it will result in positive changes in the family.
Well, you know, in addition to that, they could be going to positivediscipline.com in those 2-3 weeks that they're saying I'm not going to hit, and read the material there that has great ideas for alternatives to hitting.
Right, and kind of one of the things that we're trying to advocate with this positive discipline is to think about your parenting and think about what goals you have for your child. And if you think about the long-term goals of how you want your child to develop, that some of these, many children are hit for very petty little reasons that aren't important.
Yes.
And so if you sort of reevaluate and reflect about what's really important, then I think many parents will begin to think, well, maybe I don't really need to discipline my child for that. Now, of course, there are some things that are very important that you need to discipline for safety, danger kinds of things, but you don't ever need to spank. You need to express, verbalize, communicate.
It increases their ability to communicate.
And their ability to communicate, and also to understand why something is dangerous.
Exactly.
But if you hit them, they process the hitting, ow, that hurt. They don't think about, oh, I shouldn't have done that because such and such. But they just think, oh, that really hurt, that makes me mad, I was hit. And they focus on the pain, and they don't focus on the reason for your discipline.
Exactly, and another confusing thing is that this is the person who loves you, and it's like in the middle of their having fun, they get popped, they're like, wow, I thought you were my friend, so it must cause confusion.
It does cause confusion, and that can reflect in this depression that I mentioned, that some children react with being aggressive and will hit the parent. Some children have this conflicting feeling of, oh, my parent who loves me just hurt me.
Right.
And that's very confusing for young children especially. But for all children, and it doesn't contribute, again, to the positive parent-child relationships, which we all want.
Exactly. I have another question, and then I'm going to let you go. I know you're really busy. We're still in the race
I'd love to talk all day with you.
Oh, I would love to also. But I have this question.
Sure.
I spoke to a parent last week. He's a police officer, and he has a 1.5-year-old child. Now, this is one thing. Some people say, well, I don't spank. I just pop him on the hand. And this officer pointed out, oh, when he touches this, when he does that, could you let parents know what doing this constantly to a child can produce in that child?
Well, a lot of these same things that we've been talking about, that just a little slap on the hand.
Yeah, they say, I don't spank him, I just pop him on the hand.
Yeah, again,
that's them understand.
Just like we don't allow adults to pop other adults. That would be an assault. We don't believe that parents should pop children or use any form of violence, because again, it's giving this message that if a stronger, more powerful person doesn't like something that the weaker person is doing, that you can pop them or hit them or spank them.
Exactly. The thing that I'm concerned about too, when a parent constantly does that, can it impact the child's creativity? They're kind of like in motion in their childhood. Can it impact their creativity?
Sure, because it inhibits them. It instead of allowing the child to want to explore the world, and the children learn through engaging and touching and feeling things. And of course, you don't want to let them touch the hot stove. They need to learn that, but you don't need to hit them for them to learn that.
Exactly.
But it not only can inhibit their creativity, as you're suggesting, because instead of embracing the world and trying to learn about the world by exploring, the parent will sort of make the child inhibited and scared to interact with the world if they're constantly being hit.
Exactly.
But we also know from some brain studies that if a child is frequently hit or popped or smacked, that this can release negative, stress hormones for the child. And that we don't really know what can happen, but it can affect the brain development and how the brain is wired, because the brain is being bathed in these stress hormones as a consequence of those frequent little
stress hormone release times. And can that become an addiction? Can it become where that child, just those hormones are just present, or triggered easily?
Well, yes, they can be triggered more easily.
I see.
And there's ongoing research to try to understand how these kinds of stress hormones are affecting kids long term. So we don't totally know that, but it can affect their attention level, attention span, and various other aspects of their development.
Well, listen, Dr. Holden, I just want to thank you so much. I have such respect for your work. Call me. I want to help you in any way I can.
That'd be wonderful.
And good luck, and we'll stay together on this.